Hey everybody, welcome back to Worth Fighting For. I'm Brian. I'm joined as always by Tamur. Tamur, how you doing? It's over. We did it. Season 2 is in the books.
Yeah. Usually I watch the show Sunday night. I look forward to it. It's kind of ritual at this point. But it's I was kind of busy last night, and so I ended up just kind of watching it today. And we had the day off, Memorial Day. To be honest, I wasn't in a rush, which I think kind of speaks to where the show is right now, which I'm not as addicted as I was to season one. And we'll get into it. There was ups and downs, but I don't know. And anyway, we'll get into it. We'll get into it.
Yeah, so I guess like the first thing is just like now that it's completed, do we feel like one, it lived up to the game version of it? And two, does the story still like hold up as a TV show versus a game? Because there's a lot of stuff that changed. I will admit there's so much stuff that they just like needlessly changed, and I think in a vacuum, all of those are like, oh, it's fine, like it's little, but by the end of the season, it's like, okay, like a lot has changed over the course of a whole season.
Yeah, and yeah. To that point, I mean, we should just mention really quickly. We won't get into spoilers in this first half of the podcast, but toward the end, we'll get into spoilers, and we'll give you a kind of a transition there for anyone who hasn't played the games. But yeah, I mean, to that point, it's interesting because I feel like a lot of what happens in this episode does follow the game fairly closely, but a lot of what happened before it did not. And for better or worse, that I do think there were certain changes which helped, and definitely a few that didn't. But something about just the changes that they've made, particularly I think to Ellie's character and kind of how she is, and it just didn't like hit very hard for me in this episode. And I think it just to culminate in this kind of the season finale that just I felt a little bit bored during. I don't know. It's just it's unfortunate, but I guess just to go back to that, Ellie, we realize is kind of like unintelligent. At least show Ellie.
Show Ellie is, yeah. Craig Mazin has decided that Ellie's dumb for some reason, even though Ellie is not dumb in the game.
Yeah, and we see this in this episode. She continues to be kind of dumb and stubborn and at odds with Jesse, and it's kind of they do this thing where like you really as the audience should be siding with Ellie 100%. Even if her goal is violent and extreme, like you as the audience should have been won over by this season finale. But I wasn't. you know I'm with Jesse. I'm like, yeah, let's not interfere with these Seraphites, or the Seraphite being attacked by WLF. Let's not go after the rest of Abby's group. Let's just leave. Like, it's for the best. Dina's pregnant. Like, go home. Count your losses and live a happy life in Jackson. But instead, we kind of get like Ellie trying to stir things up and save the Seraphite, which it's a noble cause, but like it's just so clearly dumb that it's like, what are you thinking? So I was kind of like siding with Jesse the entire episode. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Game Ellie would have given a shit, to be honest, about that Seraphite thing. She would have probably just watched it and been like, okay, that's fucked up, obviously, but like not really my problem. Um, I get like trying to make like the moral high ground for Ellie and like showing that she wants to be involved here and whatnot, but like, come on. Like Jesse said, there were 6 people. Like, unless like you have like a fully automatic like machine gun and you could just like mow everyone down immediately, like you're definitely gonna die in that situation.
I know. In the game, you could throw like a Molotov and probably take them all out and kind of like you know do something cool with it. But I think
Oh
we've kind of
yeah, throw a
seen.
brick at someone's head, like hit someone, stab them in the throat, like all that stuff. Sure, 6 people's nothing, but
Exactly. But I think we've seen, in a few scenes in the show where the stakes are much higher. It is much more realistic. So, you know, taking out 6 people on her own, or even just with Jesse, like it's hard. One of them would definitely become injured
Yeah,
or even
yeah,
killed.
exactly. Like you're not going to shoot 6 people without someone realizing what's happening and shooting back at you.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So yeah, it's I don't know. We by the way, just going back a scene or two, we finally see the dressing room, which Brian, I
oh
was
yeah,
complaining about this
yeah, yeah,
earlier. How they just like sleep in the lobby in the
yeah.
in the theater, which is like just completely, I don't know, another idiotic move. I think both on the character's part ends, and I just feels like the writers kind of, I don't know, trying to use this location more or something. But
Mhm.
clearly they built a dressing room and they only have
Yeah.
like one scene there. So I'm like, why didn't they just shoot the rest of like those earlier
The
scenes there?
scenes that happen in the dressing room. Yeah,
Yeah. So
I don't know.
that kind of bothered me as well.
Yeah, I really don't know what the answer is to that. Um, Tommy being in Seattle looking for Ellie, but then also getting into a giant firefight. Is that kind of weird to you? Because like in the game, Tommy's out for blood. So like, yeah, he's gonna be shooting people. Like we talked about like how that's a big part and a big thing they changed where like Tommy is out here, John Wicking his way through Seattle and you
Hmm.
like find it. Um I guess like in the show, maybe next season we'll see that it was just like a unlucky situation that he felt like he had to do it. But yeah, what do you think of that change?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, since we've played the game, I think we know, and now people who've seen the show know that like we're going to follow another character's perspective, particularly specifically Abby, and we're going to start back from day one. And I do feel like a
That
lot
is,
of
by the way, not
yeah,
gonna go over well.
no, no, I don't think
It
people are
went over
gonna
badly
return.
for gamers. If we're gonna wait 2 years
Yeah,
just to watch Abby's side, people are gonna be not happy.
I genuinely think people aren't going to return
Yeah.
a healthy amount, but I do feel like they wrote a lot of things in the season around. Okay, let's explain this in season three.
Mm.
Let's take the scene, for example, which we were complaining about before we started recording, of Ellie landing on the Seraphites
Dude,
island, um, and completely like literally on the brink of like being killed and sacrificed, and then just like them being like, forget it. There's like a horn. Let's leave her instead of like killing her off, like which would make so much more sense.
would take 2 more seconds to do.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I feel like they're just setting that up to be like, in the next season, like, oh, you know, Isaac saved Ellie, or it's all these consequences of like, what's happening somewhere else, and but it just like you can take this entire scene out and nothing changes. It's
Yeah, so much to the point where what we were talking about before. I honestly think this was not in the original episode, and somebody at HBO was like, "I don't understand. Where's Isaac and everyone going? Like, what's happening there?" And so they're like, "I guess we can put a scene in because, like, if you cut out the wave and just cut from Ellie going to Ellie climbing up the ladder on the other boat, she finds another identical boat on the
yeah.
thing. Like, if you just cut that out, it wouldn't change anything and would probably flow a lot better.
Yeah, I kind of almost want to just like do that and release it on YouTube, because it's just like it's so
It's
obvious, and
insane.
it's like you literally just cut from like there's a really awesome shot of like Seattle in the background, the lightning, Ellie's on the boat, and like it's kind of like it's like a kind of a side on shot of the whole city, super epic. After that shot, just cut to her driving towards and then arriving. It's like yeah, I don't I maybe you're right. I think you know well, actually, I watched the after the episode, a little behind the scenes, and they did mention how they did want Ellie to go to the island at one point, and it was originally in the game, and they kind of saw it as like a chance in the show to like actually show that. But this was like the laziest, like
The worst
half-hearted
possible way
way.
to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like it's the most pointless version of that. It's like if you have an entire episode where Ellie goes and she thinks maybe it's like a shortcut, and like she's like, oh, actually this is a good way to get to Abby if I go to this island which is empty and then go through there and then go around, like that would work out. But then it turns out it's like, this cult is like, this is their home base. That would have been awesome and a really cool reveal. But instead it's just like, yeah, let's almost kill our main character, which you obviously know she's not going to, and then something else happens and to kind of like distract them, which I feel like has happened at least like 3 times this season. So it's like you're kind of expecting it. So yeah, it's very, very pointless.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Like, yeah, maybe have another episode where she hears on the radio that there's a team on the island and something, from that description makes her think it's Abby or one of Abby's friends on the island.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you could have used one of the characters that was in the game that you didn't put in the game as part of Abby's group and have her chase that person to the island if you wanted to include it,
Right. Yeah. No, I would have been fully on board with that. A full kind of exploration of just a more active reason why she's going there, and more consequential.
So I've actually been in Seattle and I've taken the ferry to maybe not the same island, but an island really far to like get knocked off a boat into the ocean and wash up and be fine. Like 100% you would just die like in those conditions.
Yeah, it's like beyond even just like from a storytelling. You're right. As I was watching it, I was like, this also is just Ellie would be dead. It's like,
yeah.
Even just logically, I'm like, no, this wouldn't happen. And like, yeah, somehow she like arrives onto a shore, which maybe that's her boat. I don't know, but that is like, it's another. There's conveniently a boat
just
there.
Perfect. Her boat just kept going perfectly when she like is floundering around in the water.
Yeah. So somehow she arrives, and then she's, seeing this child was kind of cool. Like, I was not expecting that. And you kind of expect like, oh, the children maybe have a little bit more heart, or they're not like fully converted. But
not
then
this one.
No, no, definitely not this one. This one's like full on, like it knows the mannerisms of
out for blood.
Cutter open.
Like, so happy to be a part of this.
So that's that adds some stakes, and I think we're earlier in the season we were kind of discussing like, okay, the Seraphites, they're kind of painting them to be the good guys. Clearly, we see by now they're not. They're maybe even more gruesome than WLF. It almost feels like WLF is on like the defense, but then you realize like Isaac is their leader and he's clearly out for blood. Which I don't want to say everything. There are some good things about the show, and I think Jeffrey Wright is really up there in perhaps the top 5. I mean, he's just so incredible, and I think all of his scenes are really hitting hard. He's just his reactions really to the other actress, who I don't know her character's name, but she's kind of like, what is it about Abby that this is like, are you attracted to her? It's just like, it's such an interesting like thought process, and then his reaction of like kind of laughing
his
it
face is like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he like laughs it off, but then he realizes like, okay, no, I should probably explain this. He's like, oh, this woman's not gonna like catch on. So it's just it's so brilliant. Like his acting is incredible, and I kind of wanted more of a like a cool or like a conclusive scene with him. We just kind of get him like shaving.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe he had another role that he had to like shave.
You gotta look good if you're gonna maybe die, right?
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, so
look good, feel good, kill Seraphites good,
Yeah. So anyway, that's one of the highlights I think of this season and in this episode as well.
No, I agree. I also very much liked the scene in the like destroyed high rise overlooking the aquarium between Jesse and Ellie, where Jesse's like, we have to think about Jackson, and Ellie's like, listen, man, like Joel was kind of all I had before Jackson. Like, I can't do that. I can't let this go. which is good. That's the Ellie we wanted to see this whole season.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of almost wish they had this conversation, I don't know, a couple episodes ago or something. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's true. I mean, you kind of need that because Ellie without that is kind of just like enjoying her time with Dina, like joking around, being genuinely like, unintelligent. You need a little bit more push. And yeah, I agree. I mean, even just the way that scene is shot is just like it's so cool. It lets the rain in the background. I mean, that's what a lot of the game looks like. So that was perfect. Um, I just, I wanted like Ellie and Jesse to be a little bit more on the same page, but I think they needed Jesse to be that that the logical force of like like put community first. And it's a great idea. I think that actually does add a lot. But then I'm like, man, Jesse and Ellie in the game are like thick and thin, and they understand like why she's doing this. It's just too bad that he had to be kind of like the sacrificial lamb to
Yeah.
yeah.
And we got the confirmation that he didn't vote to go to
Right.
Seattle, which we had thought was the case, but makes
Yeah,
sense given this version of Jesse versus the game version.
definitely. Yeah. So it kind of makes you wonder who were the other votes. And I
Yeah.
feel like Tommy may have been one, and maybe even his wife.
Mhm.
But then again, she's the leader of the community, so
Right.
perhaps not. But um, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. We had that scene between her and Joel last episode, which seemed like really friendly and close and like saying how they're family. So I would lean to like maybe she did, but who
yeah,
knows?
yeah. You never know.
But
And there's so many characters that just don't have names that voted, so it's
mhm,
like kind of hard to break it down. But yeah,
right.
yeah. But I think the scene with Tommy's in the somewhere out there shooting, and kind of I think we will see that in season 3 to actually get the reason behind that and everything. I hope it doesn't kind of feel like forced and kind of just shoehorned in just to kind of get Ellie to go there. I feel like the whole point of the whole reason for that in the show at least is just for her to like look at the aquarium and go whales. And
Right.
I don't
Right.
know. For some reason I was thinking, I was like, does Ellie know what like an aquarium is? Like, does she even know what that word is? Like, of course she had been to the science museum with Joel, but like
Mhm.
aquarium is like is a totally separate thing. And how does she know that there's like a giant whale, or that there were even whales? Like, I don't know. If I was a kid and I just hadn't known about society and stuff, I would not assume that
Mhm.
like there was a giant whale or there were real whales. Like people could
Yeah.
actually show them. And anyway,
Presumably there are still whales,
yeah,
in this world.
yeah,
Probably thriving, honestly.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The
Ocean life is
humans died
thriving.
and the whales are loving it.
Yeah,
Um, what else do we have? The Dina and Ellie scene. I don't know. They just aren't the same characters as the game at all. Um,
right.
I think obviously Ellie doesn't know, or rather doesn't tell Dina exactly what Joel did in the games. She does hear. Dina doesn't take it well at all. She's like, okay, yeah, we have to go home. Uh, Joel, completely different person than I thought he was. I'm out. And yeah, I don't know. I didn't love that scene because in the game, like it's a very like tender scene where she's like comforting Ellie for you know as Ellie's feeling horrified at what she did at the end of the last episode. So yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that change?
Yeah, I don't know. That scene didn't really work for me either. It was just kind of, it just felt clunky. And but I think that is like a result of where the writing is was trying to lead the entire season. So it's like I can't fault the scene itself. You have to just kind of fault where the character how the characters have been changed and where they've been going. And I just think that was such like like a defeating line of like, yeah, let's just go home, that kind of thing. Where it's like I feel like Dina wouldn't tell Ellie to go home. She would just kind of like be like, all right, well, I need to go. Like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry I have to like leave you behind. So yeah, it's disappointing.
Yeah. And then the craziest change from the game, the scene, which up to this point, when she goes into the aquarium, really true to the game, like dialogue exactly the same. Um, there's a dog that Ellie kills that's not in this. They really don't want to kill any of the animals. Shimmer lived
Yeah.
this season.
Yeah,
Uh,
Shimmer just stored away somewhere. They kind of like,
yeah.
yeah, saved him.
Ellie doesn't have to kill any dogs, so that's good. But up until the point where she comes up on Mel and Owen having this conversation, very much like the game, like super good. And then it really changes. So Owen goes for the gun, Ellie shoots him, reasonable, right? But then she accidentally shoots Mel through Owen, and Mel begs her to cut the baby out of her, which was horrifying. Like that was, I think, effective in the sense that it was like, what a fucked up situation this is. Um, but yeah, very different from the game. What do you think of this scene?
I was trying to remember how they did it in the game, but I mean, I don't know. I think I understand why they did it. Ellie would not kill a pregnant woman knowing, and she
And
clearly
she
didn't
doesn't
mean to
know in the
shoot.
game. Basically,
Yeah.
Owen goes for the gun. Ellie shoots him. Like she goes for Ellie's gun.
Oh,
Ellie
okay.
shoots him. Then Mel tries to stab Ellie. Ellie like grabs her hand and like twists it around and stabs her in the neck. And then as
Hmm.
Owen's like choking on his own blood from the gunshot, he's like basically says like she's pregnant, and
Right.
Ellie like opens her coat and like freaks out about that. And then we have the scene when Tommy comes, instead of it being Tommy's voice at first, it's the actual voice actor for Joel being like Ellie,
Oh,
Ellie, and then you see Tommy, which they kind of did the same thing with Jesse a couple episodes ago, but it
right.
looks like Joel coming in, which was nice. I thought that was good, but
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that's how they did it in the game.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of coming back to me. I feel like I don't know. I just wanted Ellie to be more active with her mission, her goal. I mean, this is what she came here to do. Of course, she's trying to find Abby specifically, but at the same time, like these people were there. They were part of killing Joel. Like I feel like you know,
Yeah, in the
it, I,
game, in fairness, in the game, Owen's like she's gonna kill us like once we tell her, and she's like, no, you can survive this. I just care about Abby. And then Owen like goes
mhm.
for the gun when she does like
Right,
the map thing.
right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know how to feel that. I feel like it was better in the game, but yeah, it's just it's not terribly different. I mean, Mel Mel dying that way, I guess it makes sense. But it just kind of like feels like because this is the Ellie we have in the show, it just wasn't very impactful because I feel like everything that's happening to Ellie is really just happening without her control at all. Like she gets saved by other people.
It definitely feels like that. Yeah.
So this just felt like another example of that. Like
Mm,
she didn't mean to kill Mel, and it's an unfortunate accident, and it's going to weigh on her. But at the same time, it's not like she did it actively and then feels bad finding out that she's like pregnant after the fact.
yeah.
I feel like that would have been much more impactful if it was like you purposely did this because of your revenge mission, which she is on. Which I feel like I have to remind the writers. Um, and instead, it's like, okay, yeah, she accidentally kind of like kills both of them.
Mm,
It would have been interesting if she didn't shoot her, and then what would have happened after that if she was in another standoff. Like you kind of
yeah.
have to like wonder what that would look like. I think Owen definitely kind of he had it coming because he was reaching for a gun. Mel didn't really have it coming, and in the game, like in a way, she puts up a fight. So it's like who's gonna win in the end? But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. It
I'm
was
not.
like really well shot and like
Yeah.
staged with like the turning around to look at the bullet hole and then like the shot of her neck that starts bleeding. Like there's like a second where like
Hmm.
everything's like still and okay, and then her neck like starts bleeding, she collapses. Like, loved
Mhm.
that. That was great.
Yeah, yeah. I kept wondering. I was like, is Ellie actually going to do this and like try to? It's like so gruesome to be like, all right, I'm just going to cut this baby up, and then you realize it's like this is going to be like so
No
messy and
way.
like
No
no.
way. Yeah.
Like, you just have to like tell the person like, okay, yeah, no worries, no worries,
Yeah.
and then
I got it. It's totally, yeah, it's out.
yeah, it's out. It's a boy.
It's
So
out.
god, it's like the darkest like sketch. She
Yeah.
just like elevates it. Oh, she's cute. She's cute. It's like ugly.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh
um,
my god.
and then the other weird thing with that scene was like there were several like crossfades where it's like
Mhm.
the scene and then Ellie and then like fade in, fade out, and then even into like the next scene there were like some fades, and I was just like, it was like at least like four crossfades suddenly, and I'm like the editors just suddenly learned how to do that or something. I was like,
Yo, check this out. Oh, that's sick.
that's sick. I think there's too many in succession.
Literally us in 7th or 8th grade when we like were playing around with iMovie.
Exactly. Oh my god, that's what it felt like to me.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, you could just, especially I think there's even one when they're in like, like it's just like she's with the group and everything, and I'm just like, why did they do this? Yeah, so that was just silly, and yeah, so we finally get Tommy. Tommy's back.
Mhm.
Which is great. I mean, I feel like he's even when Ellie's kind of broken after she killed this pregnant woman, Tommy comes through and he's he really serves that Joel
Yeah.
role, the like fatherly role, and we kind of talked about that earlier a couple episodes ago when we were kind of wondering how much of Tommy we would see
Mhm.
post Joel's death,
Not
and
much.
yeah, we'd see like literally one or two scenes with him. And but he really does fill that role, and I think if we see a lot more of Tommy in the next season, I will not complain. I think
Yeah, I
he's
think he's such a good actor, and it's a little bit like, oh man, you're wasting him, you know?
yeah 100%. So yeah
Yeah,
yeah
which I loved episode 2 with him like being spotlighted. That was sick.
yeah yeah exactly yeah, and I have seen complaints about like the whatever the bloater, like kind of his one-on-one with the bloater and how I would be unrealistic, but it's also like Joel did that shit like all the time in the game, so I don't know.
Yeah, right.
It's such a dumb thing to complain about, but
And he
you
like
know
barely beats it too. It's not like he
yeah
like easily it's like about to kill him and then it finally dies.
yeah, and even when it's dead it's like, is it fully dead? Like
Yeah,
it's
right.
like you're still on your toes, and yeah, but yeah, so I mean listen, there's a lot of there's a few good scenes, but I don't know. This whole episode, I couldn't help but feel a little bit bored and just kind of yeah. I was thinking of different ways, like how could you end a season like this? And it looks like they went with switching perspectives, which is this is a huge moment in the game. This is really when like you realize what this game is about, and I think I feel like with the show, like we've already kind of realized what this is about. Maybe just because of the medium, but um, we switch perspectives. We go back to day one. We're in Abby's boots, and we finally get to see like the WLF's base, which is sophisticated. It's enormous. You realize how big these guys are, which isn't a huge reveal as well, just because we've seen them marching down the streets, and I
Yeah.
kind of like wish
I
they.
was a little worried because they showed Isaac in like a Costco earlier.
Oh
I was
yeah,
like, oh, are you not gonna do the Seahawks stadium? Because that was like really cool in the game.
yeah, yeah. Imagine they just switched it all over to a
The
Costco.
Costco.
I know. Yeah, that was a fun choice of the Costco.
Yeah, having both of them, cool. Totally like,
Yeah,
that's fine. Costco, great place for the apocalypse. I feel like lots
yeah.
of supplies and
Oh yeah,
space. So
yeah. Rotisserie chickens and or at least
yeah, you at
yeah,
least have the oven to make them.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's one reason why you, Brian, should definitely
Mhm.
survive, so you can actually
Yeah,
teach people how
the
to
food
make
service.
rotisserie.
All my experience can make pizzas, rotisserie chickens, any fried food, chicken pot pies. I got you.
You end
That's
up
like
like,
I actually have thought of like, what would I do if like the world ended? How would I be like useful? Like I could make food.
yeah, it's true. It's true
Like,
though.
I'm
You'd
sure
be like,
shit not gonna be a person going out there like a soldier.
yeah, yeah. No, same, same. You'd be literally like Isaac, but like instead of the violence, you'd actually be like cooking, like the scene with the pan.
With the
Like
yeah,
you'd
the
be
pants.
actually making stuff, like delicious food.
Oh man, that's
um,
funny.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, we finally get to see WLF's base and Abby's perspective, and then it cuts away, and now we have to wait. I don't know, at least a year, maybe 2 years for the next season.
Probably 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. The people that I was watching the show with were disappointed by that.
Yeah.
And one of them played the game, one of them hasn't, and it's just kind of like I'll just my dad in particular. I'm like I kind of almost feel like he's not gonna watch
Yeah.
again. Like it was kind of hard enough for him to tune into season 2, and like season 3. I just feel like he's gonna be like, oh, that's out. Let me go watch something else.
Yeah.
So
I think it's gonna be tough. I think like it's one thing when you're playing the game and you're just like, well, I can just keep playing, like
yeah,
the only limit is me. Like I can play 10 hours straight if I want to.
right,
Whereas like this is like, yeah, 2 years later, that's people are not gonna be happy for that. Especially when like
exactly.
Ellie doesn't show up, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. And there's also there's a reward to just playing a game no matter what character you are. And so of
Mhm.
course, like in the game, for those who haven't played, you basically at this pretty much this exact moment you switch from Ellie's perspective to Abby's, and you are in control of this person who actually murdered your favorite character. And so
Mhm.
there's a big sort of, this is the brilliance of the game, really. You start to grow to like her over time, if you're and not a psychopathic person
Right. Yeah.
incapable of like conquering their demons.
Mhm.
And it's really brilliant. And I don't know, the only like thing I can like in terms of the show's intention with that dynamic is like, I can see people siding with Abby only just because like Ellie's not that easy to like root for.
Yeah.
That's the only other way that kind of works out for to me. It's like I actually think season 3 is going to be sick because like the actress who plays Abby is like amazing, and I
Yeah.
know what's coming up. I think it's going to be awesome. I'm going to be rooting for Abby as well, and
I think
but
if people can learn to love Negan to the point where AMC felt comfortable letting him be like the co-lead of a
mhm.
spin-off show, and I people who read the comics love Negan. Like
Yeah,
all of
oh
us
yeah,
hated him at first,
yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
but he grew on you like over time, and it worked for the show too. So I do think people can learn to like Abby.
Yeah, I think so too. And if not just because the actress is, I think she's really going to pull it off.
Mhm.
Having her killing Jesse, that's going to be a hard kind of hurdle to
Dude,
get past.
yeah, that scene straight from the game, so
Yeah,
heartbreaking.
it is. Yeah, yeah. No, the other
Jenny
person.
somehow didn't know.
Oh,
She like was pretty aware of all the other major spoilers, but she literally was like, like when
yeah.
Jesse gets shot and was like, yeah, that was me playing the game too.
Yep. It's so sudden, and it's so anticlimactic. Oftentimes you imagine like, oh, this character dies and it's this epic thing where they're like defending
Yeah,
their friends, and it's just in an instant, and then Jesse's gone, and he's really probably the most likable character
yeah,
in
right.
this season, just because he's so like logical, and he's saving his friends even though it's like they're on this stupid mission.
Yeah,
Like he's
and
just such
extra
a good
sad
guy.
too. He learned he's a dad, and he
I
literally
know.
has a line like, "I'm a dad, so I can't fucking die out here." Like,
I know, man. It's like, oh, I know. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, oh, fuck. All right,
yeah,
that's gonna sting.
yep,
And so, yeah, yeah, and yeah, and then we end on Abby about to shoot Ellie, and who knows what becomes of her. I guess we'll see next season, but
mm,
Yeah, I don't know. Should we start to getting into spoiler
Yeah,
territory? Kinda.
we can definitely do that. So
Yeah.
obviously, thank you all so much for listening. If you're dipping out now, hopefully you enjoyed the season, and hopefully you'll be back in a couple years for season 3 of this. In the meantime, check out Better Radio has all of our podcasts for all of the various shows that we cover on here. We're going to be getting real deep into Survivor with the announcement of the season 50 cast coming out on Wednesday. So yeah, if you like Survivor, stay here. We'll get you covered. So yeah, let's get into spoilers tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. So of course we since we play in the games, we know Ellie lives. I mean, that would be kind of stupid to just end the show that way.
That's
uh,
just it.
yeah,
This
just
is
Ellie
the end of
dies,
the
and then
show.
yeah, there's no season 3. Just that's it. Um, but we don't see what happens for I don't know. I mean, how many episodes in do you think we'll even see that continuation of that scene?
I don't know because I saw Craig Mason was like, "Whoa, we're gonna have to do 4 seasons
Oh,
to get through this." It's like, why'd you rush through Ellie's season then?
right.
Like, you could have had
Literally,
so
took it.
much more this season.
Yeah.
Like,
I
now
actually
you
had.
feel like it has
Yeah,
to
go
be
ahead.
4. Like, I don't
Right.
know. I don't think that they have enough for 4 seasons, personally.
No, me neither. Unless they add a lot more. But I that actually that thought did occur to me, and I'm trying to remember which scene it was where. Oh, you know what? Actually, it was the boat. After the boat, when Ellie crashed onto the island, because obviously this doesn't happen in the game, and it's
Mhm.
unnecessary and stupid. But in my head, I'm like,
Right.
whenever before I knew where it was going, I was like, oh, this is interesting. Are they going to like elongate this and like perhaps end the season in a different way and kind of
Mhm.
have split the timeline and this will be pretty different from the game, which obviously it doesn't. But in my head, that at that moment, I was like, oh, this could go for 4 seasons if they play this off right and
Yeah.
basically. They could have like Ellie somehow escape, and then she's on the island, has to somehow escape from that and have a little bit more because we haven't seen a lot of like scenes where Ellie is going against the Seraphites, whereas in the games that does happen, and those are actually some of like the most fun parts because they are like the AI of the Seraphites really intelligent. They can communicate with each other. There's like different sides, like there's giant dudes with huge hammers, and you're
Yeah.
just this teenage girl going against them. It's badass. So
Yeah.
I
It's
kind of
way
wanted more
better
of
when
that.
you're playing as Abby to fight the Seraphites
Yeah,
because you
when
can
you
at
can
least
actually
like
fight
punch
back.
them. Yeah. Whereas Allie, you're just like running for your fucking life against those giant guys.
Right.
Like try to like quickly like do like a quick stab and then like dodge and run away.
Yeah, yeah. For anyone who hasn't played the game, I encourage you to go on YouTube and look up. I think it might have been like an E3
Oh
clip or
yeah, that was
something, but
sick.
where it's you against the Ellie against the Seraphites, and it's this whole showdown where there's like cars, and she's like hiding under one, and she gets pulled out, and it's so crazy, and the game really does perform like that. So it's pretty faithful. But just yeah, the tone and everything. I encourage you to watch that, and there wouldn't be any spoilers for what comes next in the anyway. But yeah, so I I could see it going for 4 seasons. I kind of don't want it to. I mean, to be honest with you, I was kind of cool with this season ending at 7 because there's something about it that I'm kind of I don't know. It's not as I don't know. I'm kind of back to watching it for just the pure like, all right, it's a show. Whereas during season 1, like we were hardcore into like oh every line, every scene. It's like it's so well
Yeah,
done and interesting.
yeah.
Now I'm kind of like it's like a drag and
The
I don't
first
know.
season's better. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And like Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey's chemistry helps a lot with that, I feel like.
for
Um
sure.
and not having them together for most of the season sucked. Like it's tough, you know.
Hmm.
It's not something you would probably do if this was a standalone original show. If you like made a
No.
first season with like 2 leads that are like super good together, you wouldn't, separate
Yeah.
them after 2 episodes of the second season.
Yeah, especially if you kind of I mean, when you're making a film or a TV show like you just said like when you see things like that, that's that changes how you write the script. That changes how
Mm,
the show pans out. If you have 2 seasons planned, or if you have one season just like in the can, and you go, okay, these actors are like so great together, we got to keep them together. I mean, it's like the classic story of in Breaking Bad, they're originally going to get rid of Aaron Paul season
yeah,
one. They were like, all right, we'll kill him off. It'll be great. And they realized like, oh no, he's like an incredible actor, and his chemistry with Bryan Cranston is, that was the best decision they ever made, because like that's really what carries the show for as many seasons as it goes.
yeah.
And then
I
and
know, like,
spin-offs like El Camino. So
yeah, that would have been so sad if he had
yeah.
only been one season. But yeah, he's so great. And I think Steve from Stranger Things also was supposed to get killed off in season one.
Really.
And then they were like, this kid's at the time kid, now he's like 30, because it takes fucking
Right.
forever to make
Talented
that
musician.
show. Yeah, yeah, really talented musician, maybe even more talented. Like, but now he's like the heart of Stranger Things, you know?
Yeah. No, it's true. I
Like,
mean, and you can totally see that watching season one. It's just like he's kind of like the dickhead, like
yeah, right.
hot boy with great hair, and then he's like seducing like
Really
the
great
nice
hair.
girl.
Yeah,
But like they do so much more with this character, and it works so well.
yeah.
But
Can't
yeah,
imagine Stranger Things without Steve, you know?
yeah, oh yeah, exactly, yeah. So yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, that's just the way that the game pans out. They're adapting a video game, as I've kind of mentioned in the past, and always curious to hear from other people about this. But I really think there could have been a way for them to keep Joel alive and still continue with this Seattle storyline, and the whole mission of kind of like avenging him. It didn't, it didn't have to be word for word, like, oh, you injured my father figure, like I'm gonna kill you. It could have been more dynamic and kind of nuanced. But yeah, that's just how it goes. And I mean, we saw last week's episode, we had a lot of flashbacks. Pedro Pascal was back in it. That was perhaps my favorite episode of this season.
Yeah.
It was
Back in the
just,
credits, back
yeah,
in the two little fungi in the
yeah.
credits. Yeah, it was great.
It was great, and it really showed like what made this show so strong to begin with. And yeah, especially, I mean, if they do see 4 seasons, it would have been so nice for them to really build out season one,
Mm,
and or even just stretch season or the first game into 2 seasons, and really take their time with it and develop that relationship, because that's like the magic of it. But yeah, yeah.
oh well, not to be, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's kind of where we're at.
And like, for all of you who liked Bella Ramsey, fuck you. Not even gonna be in season three.
Right. Yeah.
Um, for all of you annoying people on Reddit who hate her so much, okay, I guess you're happy.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. Yeah. That's why I'm like, I feel like season three, people, some people might come back. I don't know. A lot of
Mm,
people might leave, but we might get some people just kind of like. Then again, wait, no, these people are sexist. What am I saying? No, they're totally not going to come back to see Abby's like
right?
story.
Oh man. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. A little bit of an uneven season, a lot of needless changes from the game. And it sucks as someone who really liked the game. I know you did too.
Yeah.
It's like, but why are they changing this stuff? It's not for the better, in my opinion.
No, particularly I think Ellie and Dina's characters. If
Yeah.
I had to kind of like sum up like season one, my biggest note, even though I had little things here and there, my biggest thing was like, you know, Ellie and Joel, we needed more scenes with them bonding and really spending time together, because we have like 15 hours straight of that in the game, and we only got like, I don't know, like probably if you added up like two or three in the show out of what, like 10 hours. So
Right.
that's, I still hold that note as like my main thing for season one. Season two, I really think they dropped the ball on Ellie and Dina, and particularly Ellie, just making her this like unintelligent kind of like person who's really just like fumbling through Seattle and not really
Yeah.
active, not really having any like agency in this world, just kind of like getting lucky, surviving through pure luck, and yeah. So that was my biggest thing from this season.
One thing, like, The Walking Dead has tons of flaws. I think, like, we can admit that. The show.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, but the one thing that The Walking Dead did is, like, they would have episodes where it's like, okay, this episode is going to be around like a set piece, and like we had the school in the game. You could have had a whole episode of them in the school trying to like survive through the
Mhm.
infected and ending it with the bloater in the school gym. Like that would have
Yeah,
been a whole episode on Walking Dead for sure,
hundred
you know,
percent.
and you
Yep.
would have gotten more character development from those two as they fight through the school to try to get the car battery to survive.
Yeah. No, I think that's what people want to see.
Yeah.
I mean, another example is like I think it's like maybe one of the first times you fight infected when you're kind of like you're climbing down from a building. This might even be when Tess is still with you. I'm trying to remember,
Mhm.
but it's just like it's so memorable because it's like you're figuring out what these infected are like. You're figuring
Yeah.
out their mannerisms, like what do they're sensitive to sound. What are they like? What kind of noises do they make when they're just like still and there's no like nothing to feed on? Like it's all that stuff that builds a world, and that would have been so cool. And during these moments, you can really build these characters to bond and we do get some of that, but yeah, it would have been great to get like 5 like solid episodes of that.
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah.
like sometimes in The Walking Dead, it's goofy. Like there's a Fear the Walking Dead episode that they are in like a water park because they need to get something
Oh
into the
yeah.
water park. That's silly, but it's also interesting. It's memorable,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's different. I don't know.
Yeah.
Take your time, smell the roses a little bit.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think
Smell the fungus.
smell the pumpkin. Yeah, smell the mushrooms. Yeah. No, I agree. I think with the show they've really like kind of fast tracked it just to really hone in on these like themes of the first season was like love and the second season's kind of like hate and revenge, and I think the third season will be kind of redemption or kind of that sort of change of heart.
Mhm.
But yeah, sometimes it's nice to just have little episodes. I mean, to one of my favorite episodes of Breaking Bad, to bring it back to Breaking Bad again, is the fly when he's like
Yeah.
Walter White's just distracted. He can't work because there's a fly in his in his whatever you call it.
The lab. Yeah.
Yeah, his lab, and it's just like that. It's just such a great like cinematic episode, and sometimes you need a little bit of like respite from like the serious story of these characters on this mission. And yeah, sometimes it's nice to get little stuff like that, but
Yep.
yeah.
So, and I was thinking about that a lot when Ellie was going towards the aquarium because obviously I didn't expect her to get tidal waved onto the Seraphite
Yeah.
Island, but I was like,
Yeah.
damn, there's really no infected again in this season.
Yeah,
Was there one infected other than in the underground in Seattle?
there was no wait, not really. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, so
That's weird, right?
there's the subway, right? So there's like a whole
Yeah,
kind of,
there's infected down there.
and then there's the smart ones, which
Right, the
Ellie
stalkers
gets
lab down
attacked. Yeah, so there's definitely more than season one, but it's not like, yeah, I mean, this last episode didn't have any.
there.
Um,
No.
episode before that is a flashback, so not, like really none in that. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
we
and
definitely
that's
got
something
more.
I can commend Walking Dead for too. No matter where they're going, there's gonna be a couple zombies that they're gonna like, even in mid conversation, just like
Hmm.
Michonne cut a zombie head off.
Yeah,
It's a zombie show, you know.
I know. It's funny how it took us like a Last of Us adaptation for us to appreciate The Walking
The
Dead in so
Walking
many
Dead
different
show,
ways.
yeah. I mean, I've
Like,
always liked it, but
yeah.
yeah, I agree. Like it's interesting
Hmm.
because yeah, there was just never like a dearth of zombie content in The Walking Dead. I mean, it's
Yeah.
called The Walking Dead.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, and that's the thing. The Walking Dead is like it's similar in that eventually you realize like the real problem once you get past, like the zombies are fairly manageable once it's down to like, survival of the fittest and smartest and everything. Then it's like the real problem is the other humans, and that's
Yeah.
that's a big theme in The Walking Dead, particularly in like the comic books. But that doesn't, you know,
Yeah,
distract you
wasn't
from
like
the
I think the tagline from season 4 on was like fight the dead, fear the living.
yeah, yeah.
That's good. That was a good
Oh,
ass.
it's a great yeah. No, it's a great line, and it's true. And I think the problem with The Last of Us is like the dead kind of almost are like never a problem, and
No.
sometimes
They are a
once in a while.
huge problem,
Yeah,
but like to the point where like they're such a big problem that like you can't include them.
yeah, yeah. No, that's exactly it. Yeah, it's like it fucks with like the things that they want to like explore because they are such a problem. Um, but I'll give them credit for having like probably like 5 times more zombies in this season.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because when they show the zombies, they're so terrifying.
Yeah.
You know, like even
Oh
that
yeah.
first scene in season 1 during the outbreak when Joel is like carrying Sarah through that restaurant and that infected is just like throwing themselves like all through like the restaurant chasing them.
Hmm.
That's so scary.
Oh yeah. Terrifying. Yeah. 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 The zombie scenes did work for me a lot in this season, especially. I mean, even just the subway, like them kind of going through, and I was like, I was on the edge of my seat. I wasn't kind of like thinking, you know, critically, like, oh, well, it worked for me. Um, yeah, I kind of wish they would do more with it, and I think we'll see. We're in the spoiler section of the podcast, of course, so I think we'll see like the rat or whatever they call it, the one that
The
Abby
Rat
faces off.
King.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Rat King. Hopefully we see that. I think they're good with like kind of including the
Better see
really
that.
iconic. Yeah, yeah. I think we'll see that. Yeah, and
That part
that's just
was
gonna be sick.
hard and scary in the game.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Well, anything else you wanted to add before we get on out of here?
No, I mean I think that's it. I think it's gonna be a long wait, but to be honest, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm much more looking forward to replaying the game, which I'm going to do
Yeah.
very soon.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've seen tons of people like on TikTok live streaming it. So at least it's getting
Really?
people like back into the game.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I guess the one last thing that I'll kind of plug, which isn't ours, is there's an interview with Neil Druckmann that I can't remember the name of the podcast, but you can definitely find it because it was very recent. But he really goes into
the
like
one
the
on
stuff.
sacred symbols, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and it's great. He's very open about the show and the game and kind of like what's next, and even just he answers some of like the questions that the fans have wondered, namely, would there have been a cure? I think there's been a big debate online over like, what's the point if they may not have been able to have a cure, which, his intention was always like, yeah, no, they would have made a
Yeah.
cure. That's what makes Joel's decision so, give it so much weight.
Yeah. I'm actually
Um,
I know people are like kind of annoyed he said that, but
mhm.
I actually like that he said that because like I really feel like the people who are like, well, he never could have made they wouldn't have been able to make a cure anyways are like super copping out on Joel's like responsibility for what he did,
Oh,
and like the
for
whole
sure.
point to me was, yeah, they were gonna make a cure. It was gonna kill Ellie. Those
Yeah.
are the, like it wasn't this like, oh, ambiguous, it's like, no, Joel is choosing to fuck over everyone else because he
Hmm.
loves Ellie.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So
And that
I'm
gives,
glad
yeah,
he said it.
it gives us so much weight for both of those characters, and even
Mhm.
Ellie, a lot of her decisions and everything, and her like sense of purpose in life is really weighs on that. And so yeah, that was interesting to hear him kind of like give a decisive opinion on that. And he's the creator. That's how it is. And if you don't want to look at it that way, that's also fair. It's
Yeah,
it's kind of like everything's up for interpretation.
because I feel it's
But
like people use it as like a almost like, would Abby kill him? Like, you know, like you
Hmm.
don't even know if these idiots could have made a cure. It's like, okay, well, he still killed all of her friends and her dad.
Yeah,
So she's
yeah,
gonna be mad regardless of his motivation. But
yeah.
like I honestly felt like people were kind of using it as like Joe barely even did anything wrong.
Right.
You
He's
know?
so innocent. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. He's just an innocent little guy. He likes to play the guitar. I can't believe
Right.
people are treating him like this.
I know. I love like I've seen like a few memes like this, but it's like what the fans like wanted from The Last of Us 2, and it's always just like Joel and Ellie like smiling, playing guitar.
Yeah.
It's like people that's what
Right?
people fucking wanted
Like her
in the
him pushing
perfect
her on
world.
a swing or something.
Yeah. It's like, God damn, is that really what you guys wanted? Yeah.
So funny. But yeah, the interview was really good. Sacred Symbols, go check it out. They do
Mm-hmm.
good like PlayStation coverage in general, so
Mm.
definitely
Yeah.
like good podcast. And yeah, um, anything else you want to plug before we get out of here?
Yeah, just check us out. Wicked Good Everything and Better Radio.
Yeah, and also those fake nerds and weird sports. Actually, ironically, I did a those fake nerds video on the Neil Druckmann comments from that podcast
Oh,
that
nice.
came out today. So go if you're interested. I pretty much just said exactly what I just said here, so you don't really have to go listen to it. Um, I was mostly just surprised people didn't like feel the same way I felt because I was like, I feel like this was the intent of the whole
Right.
game. So to
Yeah.
like not feel that way is super weird to me, but you know, to each their own, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, Survivor 50 is around the corner. There's also another season before Survivor 50, but we're getting the cast drop on Wednesday, so that'll be fun to go over and speculate about. And yeah, thank you all so much for listening. We'll see you in the next one in like 2 years.
All right. Thanks, guys.